Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well. Welcome to this night ending bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Not Only. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this night-ending bonus upload, shall we? Hey Jeff, I hope you're doing well. My prayers go out to you. Well, brother, I had an encounter back in 1988. I was young, dumb, and did stupid stuff. Myself and another guy named Kelly, we were both big, and we thought we were tough. After this day, we were both humbled. We were here in North Carolina, a place called Warrior Mountain. It's a road between Nantahala and Franklin, North Carolina. We went to work that day, and our work van looked like the van from Scooby-Doo, but it was white. Now, the work we did was rubber roofing. It wasn't hard, just hot work. We went up Warrior Mountain fast. I was driving, showing off, and the motor was blowing up. We didn't realize till we had to take off walking. We were 5 miles away, the nearest house or person. So we let the van roll as far as it would, but it wasn't far. So we took off walking. Now what happened next, I think I deserved for blowing the motor in the van. Kelly and me had walked about a mile, and we started hearing brush moving like someone was stomping through it. I said, "Crap, Kelly, there's a big bear." All I had was a hunting knife I used at work and a razor knife I gave Kelly. Plus I picked up a good solid stick. I bragged I'd bust its head if it comes out at us. I don't know anything about Dogman or werewolves except in the movies. But anyway, Kelly was the first to see this thing. He said it looked like someone's German shepherd. He said, "But that's the biggest damn dog I'd ever seen." I said, "You saw a bear." He looked at me and grabbed my shirt and said, "That's not a bear. He's freaking out bad." I said, "A bear will run from us." And what he said next made me scared. "Well, why ain't it running off yet?" This thing was as big as a young calf, at least 300 pounds or more, and 3 to 4 feet at its shoulders. Now, I'm still thinking it's a bear because I hadn't seen it, just heard and smelled it. I picked up a good-sized rock and threw it where we last heard it. I must have hit it because it let out a yelp like a dog, then growled that shook me down to my bones. You know that fear that's like burning, that starts at the top of your head and goes to the tip of your toes? That's the fear I got. I started to panic because a bear don't yelp like a dog in pain. We started walking again, and this thing was following us step for step. I found a solid stick made out of oak and about 8 feet long. Got it and took my knife out and started sharpening one end. I kept seeing glimpses of this thing moving from tree to tree, then in the bushes when it had to move where we could get a good look at it. I got that stick, a pretty sharp point on it. I don't know what little good it would have done, but I felt better at least having something. We put up with this dogman following us for about 3 miles, and we came to where a guy who had moved up here from Florida bought some land and started building houses. I had dated his daughter and thought he'd give us a ride, but He wasn't there, only the carpenters were, and they wouldn't give us a ride. So we kept on walking, but we thought this thing had gone its own way. When we got away from the houses and the workers, the damn thing started following us again. The lake was on our left, woods and cliffs on our right. And they weren't really cliffs, just wooded overhangs with a lot of laurel. We were almost to a place called Griff's Greasy Burgers, and huge ones too. We came to a horseshoe curve in the road, went a short way to the lake where people camp and fished. And there was a small river that ran under the road into the lake, which made for good fishing. And on the right was a trail that went way back up into the mountains. When we got even with that trail, this thing was standing back always where a car couldn't see it. And it was standing up on its back legs. I'm 6'2", but this thing was 7 feet or better. It scared me worse than I had ever been at that point. It was standing and growling at us. It was 10 to 15 feet from us, and those teeth looked like razor blades. And the eyes were yellow, just something that comes out of nightmares. The snout was long, and I could see the nose was wet. I don't know why that stood out, but it did. The teeth were 2 inches long, but the big canines were at least 3 inches. It was solid black and long hair, just like the black long-haired German Shepherd. The snout was as big as around as my forearm. I told Kelly to back up slowly. He never said anything, and I looked and he was gone. He left me. I didn't work with him after that. I felt I couldn't trust him, but this Dogman kept looking at my stick. Now, not to say this thing told me in my mind to do this, but I just heard throw the stick down, so I did. Looked at me again and dropped down on all fours. Front paws had big claws on them and looked like hands. They were made for slashing. When it was down on all fours, it looked like a German Shepherd. But if you took a good look at its size of the hair, it was a lot thicker on its upper back, like a mane of a lion, but not that thick. It was a beautiful animal till you saw the teeth and looked into those evil eyes, but its coat was like someone combed it and bathed it. But I know that's not true from the stink this thing let off. I made it to Griff's and Kelly was sitting eating a dang greasy burger. Had one waiting on me like nothing ever happened. I asked him why he left me and he said he was scared and thought I was running behind him. He wouldn't talk about it even today. I have no doubt this thing could have shredded us like paper, but it didn't want to. And when I dropped my stick or spear, whatever I had, the Dogman turned and walked into the dark woods. I moved to Georgia and I had an encounter with another one. I had sent you detailed email of that. I have more. It seems when you've seen one, you've seen more. And I think a lot of times it's 'cause you're looking for 'em. God bless you, Jeff, you and your family. God bless all the Dogman family on here. Stay safe. And always go armed with no less than a 44 or a 12 gauge with some special slugs or buckshot or something bigger. Today's second Dogman subscriber encounter. First off, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself before getting into my story of my personal encounter with the Dogman. My name is R, but most of my friends call me Bull. I'm an avid hunter and outdoorsman. I'm always in the mountains doing something with nature. It was the fall of 2020, and the Pennsylvania rifle season had opened the Saturday before. And as usual, my best friend and hunting partner, Jeff, had left my house about a half an hour south of where we had planned to hunt, our favorite mountain in Michoud State Forest, Adams County, Pennsylvania, just above the town of Fairfield. Now, the ride up the mountain is 90% dirt logging road, travels up the mountain, no cell service, and here or there you would pass an old hunting cabin, but they are few and far between. So as we start up the mountain, we had a small doe run across in front of the pickup. So we figured, hey, today may be a pretty good day in the woods. We made it up the ridge to our pull-off, which was about 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning at this point. Get out of the truck, load up, head out to our stands. Now we have about a mile or so to walk into the woods before there's a fork in the trail where Jeff and I would split off and go our separate ways. But we kept in communication via walkie-talkie. So I eventually reach my stand, get settled in for the morning. And it's your typical morning in the deer woods, birds chirping, squirrels running around, the normal. I had sat till about 10:30 that morning and got a radio call from Jeff that he hadn't seen anything that morning. Nor had I, so we decided we'd head off the mountain and get some breakfast at the local diner at the bottom of the mountain. After breakfast, the weather had started to turn kind of rainy and gloomy. Jeff decided he wasn't heading back out this evening. So after I dropped him off to his truck, I headed back up for the evening sit. I reached our pull-off again at around 2. That afternoon, after taking a drive around the logging road, seeing if I could see any deer moving across the ridge, I parked my truck, shut the engine off, climbed out and grabbed my pack and headed for my stand. After my walk in, I reached my stand at about 2:45, climbed up, got settled in for the evening. A few hours had passed and I hadn't seen much besides a spike, a small doe. It was getting to be about that magic hour, the last 45 minutes before dark, when everything was starting to get on its feet and start moving out of their bedding areas. Well, it was about 5:15 or so, I guess. I had heard some things snap to my left, and I look up and I seen some ears of a doe coming through the mountain laurel. I grabbed my 30-06 and got ready to take my shot. Well, she had walked out into a little opening, but had stopped just behind the laurel, so I waited. She had poked her head out, but still no shot. Then I had noticed the woods started to get silent. I'm talking no wind, birds, chipmunks, nothing. Made a sound. Then I heard a snap of a decent-sized stick, and I figured maybe a buck was fouling in on the doe. Well, she had shot her head up and stomped her hoof twice and bolted off into the woods. I mean, within seconds she was gone. Now, mind you, you're at this point, I could see that the underbrush in mountain laurel was starting to get dark to a point it was hard to see into. So, I was on the watch for whatever had broke that stick. I started to get a musky smell, almost like a dead animal in stagnant pond water and ammonia. It was horrible. No idea where it was coming from, so I gathered my gear and got down, made my way out to the logging road and started the trek back to the truck. On my way, I was about a quarter of the way back when I had gotten this feeling I was being followed. Now, I know the area has bear and coyotes and an occasional mountain lion sighting, which is always shot down by the forest ranger and game wardens as people seeing bobcat, but I knew better. So I shined my light around me and didn't see anything out of the ordinary, but still just had that feeling. So I picked up the pace and got back to the truck. I was putting my gear in the truck except for my rifle. I had started getting that smell again coming back up the logging trail, so I shined my light up. Curiosity got the better of me, and I would say about 100 yards back or so I saw 2 reddish eyes, which no normal animal has that kind of eye shine. So I yelled, "Hey, go on, get out of here," at least 3 times, but nothing fazed it. So I raised my rifle and fired a shot into the area above it. Then this beast stood up on its hind legs. It had to be somewhere between 7 to 8 feet tall, I guess, and you could make out pointed ears and an elongated snout, and it let out the most god-awful guttural howl I'd ever heard in my life. I threw the rifle in my truck, jumped in, and took off down the mountain, never looking back again to this day. I have never set foot on that logging trail since. Not sure if I will ever do it again, but that is my Dogman experience. Today's third subscriber Dogman encounter is about an hour and a half south of my location. I can't remember the exact year that this encounter happened. It was early fall, either 87 or 88. I had been an Army MP. My last duty station was the Stewart Army Subpost at Stewart Airport in Newburgh, New York. After I got out of the Army in 1984, I decided to stay in the Hudson Valley instead of returning home to Western New York. I got a job working for a company that did unarmed and armed security, private investigations, and executive protection. This particular job was a surveillance of a sewage treatment plant and a small lake that was the town of Newburgh's water supply. Evidently, there was a bone of contention between a company that wanted to build some houses and local residents concerned that the new houses were too close to the lake and that their septic systems may pollute the water. There was a concern that someone might try to introduce raw sewage into the water supply. I was told that outside of me, the only other people who knew of the surveillance was my boss and the chief of police. My boss met me on the site at dusk and showed me where to set up. There is a dirt road that runs around the treatment plant between the lake and the plant. The vehicle they gave me to use was a Ford Escort. Where I parked gave me a decent view of the plant. The trees were thick enough to do a good job to conceal the car, yet I was able to have a decent view of the plant. Directly in front of me, the trees were so thick and old that they made an archway over the dirt road, creating a tunnel of darkness. The front bumper of the car was up to where the tunnel of shadows started. I sat there for hours in the chilled autumn air, windows down, motor off. The person I saw was a worker from the plant who came out and smoked a cigarette about an hour after I started. Eventually, I got to the point where I needed to stretch my legs. I made sure the dome light would not come on when I got out. I left the door open slightly to avoid making a sound. After stretching a bit, I decided to walk a ways down the dirt road. The trees made it pitch black. What little ambient light from the plant was completely blocked by the trees. I cautiously walked about 20 feet into the darkness when I heard directly in front of me a deep, loud growl. At first I thought someone decided to walk their dog, but then a noxious smell hit me. A smell of musk, decay, and filth. At the same time, a feeling of dread came over me, and the growl came again, a bit closer this time. I was carrying a .357 Magnum at the time. I drew it and held it at the ready as I began to walk backward. It was only 20 feet back to the car, but it seemed like a mile. As soon as I got to the car, I slid into it and shut the door as quickly and as quietly as I could. No sooner than I did this, something came trotting out of the shadows. It was four-legged and huge. If it had approached the car, its head would have been equal to the roof. The head was massive. It had the same general shape as a Burmese mountain dog. It had a ruff of fur from its shoulders to the back of its head. The rest of it was odd-looking. While the body may have been about 5 feet long, it still looked too small for that massive head. The back sloped down considerably. Its hind legs were ridiculously short in comparison to the front legs. The tail was long, slender, and held out horizontally. It was completely black, unnaturally so. It did not seem to have any depth to it. I had a feeling that if it turned its body, it would have disappeared. No features, no panting, no sounds of its feet as it trotted by, 5 feet from my open window. It looked neither left nor right as it passed. Needless to say, I stayed in the vehicle for the rest of the night. The boss called me the next afternoon to see how it went. I told him the only thing I had seen was a stray dog. Nothing happened the next night, the last night that I worked this particular gig. On a personal level, I'll think about being on with you. I'm actually quite shy for a fairly large tattooed Viking type of guy. Brother, if you're hearing this, please shoot me an email because I really, really would love to have you on the show. Just local boys, shooting the breeze about Dogman. Anyway, that is if you're ready for the show. And always remember, guys, anonymity is always respected, always, first and foremost. And, it's not a live show. It's just you and I shooting the breeze. That's basically what it is. Today's fourth subscriber Dogman encounter. Hey Jeff, wow, thanks for getting back to me so quickly. I'm a school employee, a worship leader, mother of 7 children, married for 26 years. I live in a small town in northern Michigan. I don't want to bore you with the details, so I'm just being brief. I have 2 small grandchildren, and my family is my life. I'm only trying to keep them protected. Anyway, I live across the park. It has a baseball and softball diamonds, a playground, literally. There is a road in front of my house. That is the only thing keeping my yard from being a part of the park. Behind the park and all around is hundreds of acres of woods. It's public land. There's a path that leads to the river as well. When I'm sitting on my porch, I face the baseball field that has a 2-story concession stand just beyond the field. I tend to sit on my porch all hours of day and night. Lately, weird things have been happening. I've been seeing eye shine on the 2nd story of the concession stand. I know that sounds weird. The eyes are a yellowish green and very large. They will appear to be looking straight at me, and then they will move from side to side. I can see when the face turns, and then turns back to look at me. This has been happening for weeks. They're not there every night, but more often than not lately. My pit bull has been having odd behavior as well. When the yellow eyes are shining, he will not come outside, and if he does, he will have his tail between his legs and act terrified. He won't leave the porch. Very unusual behavior for him. A few nights ago, I saw 2 sets of eyes. The other set were red. They were both swaying back and forth and turning their heads to the side and then back at me. I got a very deep sense of dread when the eyes were looking at me. Then, when I was in my bedroom, which is in the back of the house with a window open, I heard a whistle that was right outside of my window. I quickly shut the window. I didn't see anything, but it freaked me out. I mentioned some of this to a few family members, and they are not at all interested in hearing about it. They think I'm off my rocker, sadly. The thing that concerns me is that my children that still live at home come and go at all hours of the night, and they have no fear of what could be out there. I've been learning so much from your channel and believe in these creatures. We live in a perfect environment for them, and it seems like things are escalating with the eye shine. And now, right up to my window. Tonight's 5th subscriber Dogman submission. Hey Jeff, it's been a minute. I don't know if you remember me, but I sent you some of my encounters a while back when I lived near the LBL. All those years ago when I snuck out with that girl and had that encounter at the lakes, little did I know I'd wind up marrying that girl. My grandparents that owned the property since have passed, and as I was one of the few people that visited them going on their final days, they put the property in my name. I have lived in that house with my wife for the past 2 years. I still go hunting on the property regularly. Last year's deer season was pretty uneventful. I moved spots more towards the front of the property as I still get very uneasy when I go down into the valley. I found comfort in high-power motion lights, and I will say my heart always drops at nighttime when I see those lights kick on. I've cut back the woods from our home about a half an acre on all sides. My last Dogman encounter was probably the best chance I have ever had at studying these creatures. I was in my tree stand enjoying first morning sun peeking through the sparse tree line that split our front property fields when I got the all too familiar feeling of dread. It took me about 30 seconds to pinpoint the source of the feeling. About 35 to 55 yards down that same tree line, I saw this brownish gray creature walk out. It didn't fully walk into the field, only the edge of the field. It walked down the tree line until it found a nice plump bit of grass maybe 20 feet off the game trail. That's when it tucked itself behind that patch of grass. Honestly, you think something like that wouldn't be hard to see. But if I didn't see it walk over there and sit down, I don't think I would have been able to see it. After it being there for 20 or so minutes, this creature stretched out and sprinted down the tree line into the other field. After sitting in my stand for what felt like forever, I finally got the sack to climb down the ladder. I carry a .308 and a .44 on my hip during deer season, and I still feel like I have water pistols. I have a few more encounters as well. I have a deer station that I caught on when harvesting a deer. Right beside the platform is a shed. In the shed, I have 3 deer fridge. One night I heard the shed being run through, so I took my .308 onto the porch and shot 3 times above the shed. On the second bullet, a large black figure moved so fast it looked like a blur, took off out of the shed and back into the woods behind my property. I'm also going to send this person an email. Brother, if you hear this and you don't get an email from me in a couple of days, send me an email too, please, because I'm writing myself a note, but I may forget. Sometimes my desk and my brain get scattered. Tonight's 6th Dogman subscriber submission. Hey Jeff, I'm a big fan. My name is M, and I've had 2 Dogman encounters. My first one took place in 1997. When I was 17, me and my friends had this spot in the woods where we would hide and smoke. One afternoon I was out there with myself. Time got away from me. It was getting dark fast. I started back about a halfway point. I saw something or someone walking behind me. I stopped walking and it stopped. I turned around to try to see who or what it was. It was just out of the light, but I could hear this deep, raspy breath. My blood ran cold in that moment. My instincts took over and I started to slowly walk backward until I got to a logging trail that led out. Back then I had never heard of Dogman. All these years I thought it was a Bigfoot until last year when I started to listen to your channel. My second encounter happened 2 weeks ago when I saw one. It was about 1 in the morning. I was outside of my girlfriend's house smoking when everything went dead quiet. Then this big, dark, massive shape ran across 2 yards and a small 2-lane road in like 3 steps. It looked like a bodybuilder. Had human legs, no tail. All I could see was a side profile of its head. It had a long muzzle and pointed ears. I couldn't see its eyes or its teeth. Both took place in southern Indiana. And he gave me permission to use his name. Mike, do me a favor. Same goes for as the previous subscriber. I'm going to write a note to myself. But if you're listening, please reach out to me. I'd like to have you on the show. Tonight's final subscriber Dogman submission. Hey Jeff, it's Jay from Georgia. How you been? Now, I've had one encounter. October of 2020, I was delivering pizzas in the city limits on the edge of town. When on the way back to the store, I was turning down the road heading back into town. At the stop sign, I looked up and died in my high beams on the other side of the road, poking its head out of a field of really tall grass. It looked to be a huge German shepherd. We locked eyes for 20 seconds. Jeff, the thing's eye to eye with me, and I was sitting in my truck. At that moment, I realized how tall it had to be. I hauled ass out of there. I went back the next day around noon to see if I could find any tracks, but I couldn't find any. However, I found out that the field the thing was standing on is 1.5 feet lower than the road. Which brings me to last week on that same road in the same spot I saw it again. At least I think it was the same one. The area in which I had seen this Dogman is on the outskirts of town, but very near a rather large neighborhood with lots of kids. Jeff, take care of yourself. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this night-ending bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.